Of the deep dive live stream. Today we have a very exciting guest by the name of James Schramko. James, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
James, for the people in the chat who might not know who you are, I wonder if you could give a quick intro to what it is you do. And I just for context, I found you because I read your book, Work Less, Make More, and I thought it was very interesting. So I dropped you an email through a mutual friend. But if you can just kind of give an intro for the audience, that would be great.
Sure. These days, I help mostly online business owners. I have a stake in a portfolio of companies, and I coach people. So I have a business called SuperFastBusiness, and they come online. I think that's where our mutual friend has been hanging out for a
Yep.
few years. Um, I've been doing that for over a decade. At the same time, I've been podcasting and running some live events. And that all started, from my previous job, which was as a general manager from a Mercedes-Benz dealership.
Nice. Yeah, so there was lots of stuff I wanted to dig into with you. Normally, I kind of take these deep dive sessions as an opportunity to essentially get coached by the person that I'm interviewing. So I was having a chat with writer Austin Kleon last night, and he was giving me loads of tips on writing because I'm working on my own book. Um, on that note, how what was the process of writing Work Less Make More for you, like overall?
The process was originally I thought it'd be good to have a book. I knew that a book was important. It's good positioning, good authority. I thought my ideas were important enough
Hmm.
to capture and get the leverage from, but I really struggled with the process. I'm not a writer. I don't write. I can hardly type. I'm a two-finger typist. So I commissioned a lady to help me who was going to research. She came up and visited me. She went through my courses, my community, my notes, and listened to me. And then she completely flaked on me.
Oh
And
no.
years went by, and she eventually sent me a draft manuscript, and it was I just felt it was out of date and was past that. So next thing you know, I was speaking at an event in the Philippines, and I was the 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 topic was along the same sort of lines as Work Less, Make More, but it wasn't called that. And I think it was how to get make more profit, work less in your business, and those sort of things. And a lady in the audience said that was just mind blowing.
Hmm.
I think you should have a book. And I said, well, I tried to have a book, and it was a difficult process, and this happened and that happened. That was 5 years ago. She says, I would help you if you want. So this lady, Kelly Exeter, I said yes. And she helped me write the book. She asked me questions. She went through my stuff. Which she says, we need something on this or that. And I created specific trainings on that topic. And then she pulled it all in and tied it all up, and we named it and published it a couple of years back. And it's been selling really well ever since. And it's still a book that I draw from a lot, especially when I'm coaching people and reflect on myself, because I really am interested in lifestyle design and to see how much leverage you can get, in your life. And certainly anyone with kids or multiple projects on the boil or not happy with their position in life right now, will probably get something from that book.
Nice. There was a thing that you wrote towards the start of the book, which was that note that you wrote to yourself in September of 2006. Can you remember what that said and kind of how your life sort of trajectory
Well,
went from there?
I wanted a good income. I think I wanted $1 million. I wanted to be very low effort to get, um, and I wanted to be free from the prison that I was in at the time I wrote that.
Yeah.
I was in a really serious job, and it was it really was kind of a putting the coordinates in to launch my own future. And I think that's part of the planning process. For me back then, I used to write a lot of stuff down and think about stuff a lot.
Hmm.
These days, I'm way less formal and less structured about it because I'm in a different situation. But it was definitely it was a strong program to myself, and you need something like that to get through the inevitable setbacks that will happen on that journey. Because after I wrote that, in that 2007, 2008 years were the most dangerous years of my life from a health and mental perspective. I had to try and jam two serious jobs down the pipeline, and one of them was going to come off first and the other one was going to get pushed to the side. And I really, really wanted it to be my own business.
Fantastic. Yeah, there was a thing that you. Well, so I listened to the audiobook when I heard the recommendation from my mutual friend, who was your kind of SuperFastBusiness client, and I was kind of taking copious notes. I think I was listening to this while I was in the gym, and then afterwards I kind of half-assed my workout because I was like, okay, I actually need to need to take this seriously, and I got my phone out. I went into the spa, and as I was just listening to the audiobook and taking notes, and one of the things I wrote down was that you wrote this thing that said, my goals: create automated income so I'm independently wealthy and can enjoy my life passionately. And that really resonated with me because this is what I wrote down for myself in sort of in 2018, in 2012 when I first started medical school. So this would have been 6 years after you wrote it, which was, I want to make money. I want to make enough money on the side so I can do medicine for fun. And
Right.
as soon as I kind of set that, suddenly that became my North Star, which then for me, like the rest of the sort of 8 years of my life, the last 8 years of my life, kind of worked towards this idea of building these streams of automated income. What does your life look like now? Like, what does your day to day look like?
Well, I structure my work week to put calls like this in the middle of it. So I have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I have a few calls in the morning and a few calls in the evening, and I have most of the day off. And then I don't take calls on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. And I attend my forum pretty much every day. I answer questions. That's my main job. I record a couple of podcasts each week, which take about 25 to 45 minutes each. And I surf every day. I play basketball. I do tennis. I spend a lot of time with my daughter and my wife. We do normal things: go to the coffee shop or visit the shops or go down to the beach or watch Netflix. And I check in my team occasionally. We have Slack, which is pretty much my virtual office. And we have a once a week team meeting for about 15 minutes. So they're very, very, very tight now with the way we run our business. And that's it. And, especially this year where I haven't traveled as much as I have traveled normally. In fact, it's the least I've traveled since about 2008 when I had a job. I've really had a chance to just dial the machine even more and just refine some of the business units, to eliminate even more things that are superfluous and just get really concentrated on the core.
Fantastic. So what I was hoping we could do is, so there's a few points that particularly resonated with me in the book that I just want to kind of run by you. And then afterwards, I wonder if I can just share some of my business woes with you, and you can like sort of casually coach me, or at least sort of talk me through how you would go about kind of tackling these issues. So the first thing that I wrote down was this, the idea of this Eisenhower matrix in your to-do list. And I wrote down this, that when you don't prioritize stuff, it makes you think that everything is of equal importance. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit? Like, how does that apply to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, it's kind of like that goals thing. If you don't set your own coordinates, then you're falling into someone else's coordinates. You'll be doing what you've been programmed to do by your parents or by society. You work your 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job. You'll watch a show on TV, get your dinner delivered, and you'll just repeat cycle till you supposedly retire. The same way, most people don't realize that things aren't equal. They're just not equal. So of all the things you're doing, most of them are useless. They're not contributing to much at all. In fact, when I broke down that 80-20 that most people have heard of, into the 64-4, it really takes on a lot of power. Like if you realize that 2/3 of the results or things you're getting are probably coming from 4% of the things on your plate.
Yeah.
And then you apply that to everything from your wardrobe through to friends, through to your team, through to your business divisions or units, then you realize that most of the balls you're juggling right now, you could safely just throw them away. And you end up with 1 or 2 balls to juggle, which is way easier. And those ones, if you don't want to juggle them, you can hire someone to juggle them for you. And you can really just sit there and stare at the one ball if you want, and it can work. So that's what I've been whittling away at over the years, is finding the few balls that I really do need to juggle. And it's really only come down to a couple of things that are on my agenda, which is create the occasional piece of content and to coach, to provide the delivery of the service that I'm actually selling. And these days, I've actually evolved that into that advisory role where I'm helping a portfolio of businesses individually, but I've collectively put them into a group. And my intellectual property can be applied to their business for them to have big wins and for me to get a royalty from that or a licensing fee. So that's like the ultimate form of leveraged income that I've been working towards. But it means I'm not doing almost everything I used to do. And, through time, I realize now, I spent way too many years doing my own accounting and building my own websites and editing my own podcasts and all the stuff that most people do. And the funny thing is, we actually know to do this because in our house, we probably don't, most of us, probably a good portion of us, don't live on a farm. We don't grow our own food. And many of us don't even prepare our own food. Like we know we can just call a number or push a few buttons on the phone and it turns up to our front door in 15 minutes from now. But we don't do this in our own business. So as soon as we're aware that not everything is equal, then it's like the task is which things are more important or more impactful than other things. What things could we just safely delete? And then of the stuff that's left, what are we not even that good at that we probably could get someone else to do for way less than what the time is costing us? And I talk a lot in the book about that measurement of effective hourly rate, because having that metric allows you to start making useful decisions. It's a filtering mechanism to start deciding, yes, I should do this, or no, I shouldn't do that.
How would you go about calculating your effective hourly rate? And do you do this for like everything or just for like business things?
I do factor it for other things, but then I'm okay with allowing stuff. So for me, surfing started off as just a hobby, a fitness thing, a fun thing. It's a daily obsession now. I want to surf every day, and I will spend a lot of time and energy thinking about it. However, it is also the driver that makes me bound out of bed in the morning, and I'm excited for every day, and I feel alive. Like today, it's like a miracle we're even on this call. I was surfing waves that were 9 or 10 feet tall, like 2 times the size of a man, and I got rumbled pretty good. But I also went right to the edge of my fear and the adrenaline and stuff at my age and stage in life. It's so thrilling and exciting. So I don't say, look, that's a waste of time. I'd say that is very close to my purpose, and it's unlocking the excitement. It makes me want to buy a beach house and acquire portfolio of places near the beach that I can go and surf at, and add to that, and then it makes me excited to help other people and grow their business so that they win and I win and their customers win. So yeah, I do measure it especially for any typical task. I'll start weighing it. Like if you buy an item from IKEA, you might want to start thinking about using Airtasker instead of committing 6 hours for you and an Allen key, and burning up your knees on the floor.
Yeah, that's so this effective hourly rate stuff. I think I probably first came across it in the 4 hour work week, and it just once I started thinking of my time in those terms, I suddenly realized, oh my goodness, all the things that I'm doing that I could relatively easily outsource. But even knowing that, it still took me ages to kind of hire my first team member, and now this is like I'm working on a course for people who want to sort of use YouTube to grow their business and stuff. And like one of the key things is like literally as soon as you can afford it, you need to outsource editing, because like there are so many people I know who are like very successful at YouTube, making figures a year, who still think, oh, I couldn't outsource editing because my creative style is in the edit, and well, I don't think anyone could do it as well as I could. And I used to think all of these
Well,
things,
and
and
it
then I
might
just
even be true, but then there's a trade-off between, I call this whether you're being an artist. So maybe Casey Neistat edits his own stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, probably does, but that's also how that's how he's become kind of famous for him being the artist.
Yeah.
And then I imagine it's actually harder for those artists to monetize that than it is for other people who are using a YouTube channel to drive an actual business.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, his art is in his edit, whereas like for me, I
I'm
am,
definitely not a good editor.
yeah.
I should not,
Yeah.
I should not be near an editing. I get frustrated when the software's out of date or the rendering takes forever.
Ah, okay.
It's like, so I stopped editing my stuff, and I can tell you, you said you read my audio book. That's one of the most boring things ever is to read your own book because there's nothing new in the book. It takes about 6 hours to read, and then the edit. Like if the worst thing in the world is reading your own book and to record it, then the next worst thing is having to actually listen back to. So there's no way in the world I was going to edit that. I paid a guy like $500 in New York to edit it and make it sound good and crisp and get it ready for Audible submission.
Mm.
That would have been the most grueling task for me. It would have taken me a week. I would have hated it and I wouldn't have done it well. So that's an easy one.
Oh, was that a self-published book, or did you have a publisher?
Yes.
Self-published. Nice.
Yeah.
Any reason you haven't written a second or third book? Because it seems like it would
I
be
have.
pretty.
I've written a couple more books and
Oh,
they are very close to dropping. I've written one
oh,
on
nice.
membership sites
Okay.
and I've written one on scaling a business from 6 figures to 7 figures. And then the next one after that is teaching people how to do revenue share deals. So it's definitely two are really close. And the next one after that will probably be a next year thing.
Oh, mate, those the first two I would absolutely love to read. If you can send me
Well, they'll
an
be
advanced copy
coming
or
out to
something, that would be
Amazon,
awesome.
and Amazon near you, no doubt.
Sweet. So so another thing I wrote down was you talk a lot about having a weekly review. I first came across the topic of the weekly review in David Allen's Getting Things Done, and I thought, oh, this is a great idea. And I read this like 4 years ago, and since then I've done like 5 weekly reviews. And every time I do a weekly review, I think, damn, this is really good. I should do this more often. How important is the weekly review for you and kind of your business?
Well, it's especially important in the early phase. In the beginning of setting up and establishing new businesses, and when I had an SEO business and when I had a website development business, and we scaled our team, we would actually have a morning team briefing. So we'd review the business. And even to this day, I get a daily report, which I call a pulse.
Mm.
And it comes through for the whole team to see the vital statistics on our business. And none of them are financial, by the way, but they're really important metrics, giving us a snapshot of yesterday versus last month versus 6 months ago. So we can very easily draw a trend line from that and get a feel for where we're going. So I think it's actually important to review if you want to measure progress, if you want to know if you're going up or down. If you don't, and that's okay, then it just means it might get away from you. Like I imagine over the pandemic, a lot of people have probably moved up a belt size because they're probably sitting at home and eating worse, and they're stressed out and their hormones are crazy. And if they haven't jumped on the scales for a while or stuck a tape measure around them, then one day they'll go to put their pants on. They're like, oh, these are a bit tight, and it's been a gradual process. But if you were to weigh in once a week, then you would realize, oh, hang on, I'm getting off track here. And it's a bit easier to course correct the earlier you have information.
Okay. What sort of stats do you guys use if they're not financial?
So in my business, where we're basically publishing content and serving customers, we want to know the current number of recurring subscription members in each of our programs. I want to know how many emails we sent in the last 30 days because there's a direct correlation between how many emails we send and how many people buy or how many people we're serving.
Mm.
I want to know how many people visited our website in the last 30 days because, again, it's an indicator. Things like SEO, things like people visiting our podcasts, our products page, seeing our offers. And I also, let me see what else I get. So the members, there's the visits. I also keep an eye on the podcast downloads because it's another indicator of market distribution. So none of those numbers are a financial number. They can be extrapolated into a financial number, but it's not important. That's our daily snapshot. But I would suggest that a business owner has a good look at their P&L at least once a month. Go through every single line item in your income and expenses every single month If you just do that, you'll eliminate unnecessary subscriptions. You'll query or question, you bought this course like 3 weeks ago and you haven't started it
Yeah.
yet. Should have a rule, perhaps no more courses till you finish that one.
Mm.
You'll also be able to see a trend for which products are actually going up or down. So we actually do it every 10 days. We have a by product line item every 10 days.
Mm.
Someone in my team at a high level prepares a financial comparing yesterday versus the same day last month. And we do that on the 11th and then the 21st. And then, of course, month end is the full enchilada, the whole P&L. Comparing last month. We also have a look at any large expenses. They get flagged for my attention, like we paid for a venue or we've hired a copyright, annual bill or whatever. We respond.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So at the moment with mine, we don't really look at any of these numbers at all. So I think this is this is a good place to start. I think partly it's because on the YouTube on so my business is predominantly based around YouTube and then funneling people into other stuff from YouTube, and YouTube gives you at a glance like how is your channel doing compared to the last 28 days type situation.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess it's one of those things that because things are going very well and we're on sort of an exponential growth curve with kind of views and subscribers and revenue, that masks a lot of the underlying potential inefficiencies in the business, because it's like, oh, all the numbers are going up over time, so we don't need to worry about it too much. But at this point, like, they say make hay while the sun shines. Like, the sun is currently shining, but what I really, really want to do is dial down and make sure the machine is tuned up, so that if the
That's
sun
exactly right.
stops shining, then yeah.
You've got a nice race car there. But someone like me would want to consider, yes, make hay while the sun shines. But what if you've got, one of the things you're promoting is selling particularly well, but you haven't really put a spotlight on it? Would you want to know which one that is and then turn the spotlight up? Like, for example, I just did a podcast episode on my own show. It was episode 775. And that particular episode it doubled my sales this month, this one episode, because I went and gathered data. I found out what's really, really important for my customers, the things they keep asking me, the things they have to be able to know to make a decision on coaching. And then I published that as a podcast. So this is the technique of doubling down. I'll also say that bad habits are bred in good times. If your trend line starts stopping, if your sales drop, then this is what the business owner does. They say, "Oh my God, like it's not doing what it used to do. What's changed?" And then unless you've got a little bit of data or you've gone and had a look at things, it's a bit harder for you to do that on the spot. So I'd be saying, like, how do you move people from the YouTube channel to whatever they're buying and you get paid? And whatever those steps are, each one of those steps could actually be optimized, whether it's the copy around the link that moves them or the way that you're publishing the content into your YouTube video. Maybe you sell more when you put a pitch at the beginning of a video versus the end. Maybe one product is just outselling all the others, even though you're putting the exact same effort into promoting it. Like, double down, like go and partner with them, get a rev share deal or buy the company and just ramp it up. But, almost certainly there's a lot of opportunity for you, but it's okay to go broad and to scale unoptimized. It's fantastic if you're getting great results unoptimized. A lot of people measure too much data and they get all anal about this data stuff. I'm just saying it'd be good to have a baseline measure of what's actually happening. Like, if you could x-ray your business and say, oh, this bone here is broken, maybe you can fix it before it grows bent.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, this is definitely something I've started thinking about a lot, kind of since reading your book and similar ones. I was talking about this to another friend who's a blogger who runs a sort of subscription business off the back end of the blog, and she was saying, like, in marketing speak they call it fixing the leaky bucket, and like, sort of, for me, kind of the YouTube channel is getting people into the top of the bucket, but then the bucket is so leaky because there are actually it's very poorly optimized to get people to essentially pay for more stuff. or sign up for one of our sort of free trial courses type situation. I really like how you frame sort of people buying from you as people you can serve. It sounds like that's quite a deliberate, like, a sort of mindset shift.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that old saying: if you get what you want if you help people get what they want. But at the fundamental level, it's my definition of selling that has helped me be good at it in the past, and that is really people just want to be better off. That, if someone buys something, they're buying it because they want to be better off. So it's just a process of going from the current situation to a better alternative situation. So my job would be to help them be better off. If I can help them be better off, and I can explain that, I'll put it in a way that's easy for them to know, which I would rather do via marketing than just direct selling, then the sales happen automatically. So I make automatic sales all year long without having to get on the phone and so forth. And I do a lot of pre-selling. So you're in a great position with the YouTube channel, and I've coached a guy who's built a business. It's actually gone from $5 million to $10 million over this year. And it's originally founded and driven from a YouTube channel. And some of the things that he found were when he ditched the DSLR camera setups and went to a handheld Canon G7X and made more documentary style videos, he would get double the views on the video. And then it's like, what can you say on the video that migrates people into an email opt-in? Because once you have that, you have dynamite, because there's so much you can do. Even if someone just visits a page from YouTube, you can now tag them and remarket to them on Facebook. And perhaps you can be buying YouTube ads and accelerating the front end of your YouTube machine. So there's probably a lot you can do before your funnel, after your funnel, and just tuning it. At the minimum, it'd be nice to at least just track the clicks on the links on your site, and to try different descriptions and put your content natively into inject your message into every piece of content you do in a way that's thoughtful for the customer and not the typical way that everyone does it.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. It sounds like I need to book one of these sessions with you. I was looking through your website. I was very intrigued by the Silver Circle program. Yeah, that seems like a very interesting business model. How does that work? If you wouldn't mind sharing a bit about that.
Which one is that one?
The Silver Circle one?
Yeah, so the partner model, it's simply me just helping a business owner take them from where they're at. They've gotten so far by themselves or whatever they do, and they're usually good at something, and often it's something I'm not that good at, which is great. And I just come in as a silent partner, or a man around the corner, or it's like a board of directors sort of helper, and I help them grow that business from where it is to beyond. It only really works if someone's looking to scale, and it works especially well if I have any kind of experience or distribution available for that person, so I can really help them ramp up. Basically, if you think about, for the last 10 years, I've been chatting to business owners and seeing what works in every possible business, and then I just take that and just load it into their business. And they get stuck at all the same points. Usually they get stuck at hiring team. They get stuck at improving their conversions. They get stuck at figuring out how to package and price their offers. And the most important thing is they get stuck in themselves. They got all these preloaded programming from parents, teachers, peers, masterminds, courses. They're thinking a certain way. So I get in and help them think a different way. If they're a scrambled Rubik's Cube, then I help them get it back to looking nice and neat with all the right colors. So I'd say a quarter of the stuff I'm doing is around helping people optimize themselves, because that really is the restrictor for most businesses. It's stuck to the limit of the capacity of the owner, the business owner.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So the other day I was chatting to a performance coach for like trying to improve my personal productivity and stuff. And even though like I make videos about productivity and people on the internet see me as some sort of productivity guru, I did his like sort of pre-thingy questionnaire, and I found out there were like so many things on that list of things that I know I should be doing, that I just don't do. And I thought, you know what, let's hire this guy. At least then I'll have some kind of accountability to actually, not check my emails before noon, or to actually kind of have a morning routine and a nighttime routine, or to actually do a weekly review. All of these things that as a productivity guru, I know I should be doing. I just don't yet. Do you find that's the
But
case for?
should you? Should you not check your emails till lunchtime?
Oh, at least, for the first like 2 hours where I can get my writing done. So,
What if someone's screaming at you because they didn't get their thing they ordered, or like I don't know, some of the things that people talk about for productivity,
yeah.
I have a contrarian point of view on,
Okay.
and that's just because I've experimented with a lot of different things. But I think in your case, it fascinates me when people say they need someone for accountability,
Mm.
because ultimately, if you can dial up the responsibility, all you really need is a mirror. You're not doing it because you don't want to do it, because
Mm.
you haven't yet, you haven't got a big enough problem.
Yeah.
Like the hay's still coming out of the machine. If the hay stops, the thunderstorm comes and ruins your crop, then you'll be desperately doing whatever it takes. So once you understand how you operate, that's really that is what shifts things. So what I try and do is design an environment where I naturally am going to I'm just going to be a bowling ball rolling down the hill. Like I don't want resistance to stuff. So I don't even take on things that I know I'm not going to push that bowling ball up the hill anymore.
Mm.
So I don't seek out hills that are up. I seek out the low friction path, even if I leave money on the table.
Yeah.
There's, my business could be more defined by the things I don't do than the things I do. I don't do most of the things other people in my market do, and that sets me apart. And also, I found a nice position in life where I'm able to do the things that are important to me, and it's still funded. So question everything. It's advice that actually I got from my mentor, but question everything. Question the techniques in the productivity course. Question why you don't want to do it.
Mm.
Uh, do it and see if you get amazing results with it, and it transforms you. That's great. Maybe you're ready and you really need someone to just install better habits for you. But isn't it fascinating, this battle with ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I fully agree with your thing that like at the moment it feels like not a priority because the hay is being made.
Yeah, and like,
Yeah.
why do you need to be so productive? What are you racing off to do? Like, so that you can spend 8 more hours doing other shitty work on things that aren't important.
Yeah.
That's the stupidity of it all. It's an entrepreneurial paradox. They get really productive and eliminate everything, so they got a free plate to then load up with all these new entrepreneurial activities.
Mm. Yeah, that was something I was going to ask you about because like your sort of by all accounts seem to be fairly successful and making lots of money and stuff. Like, how do you think about sort of what things you're now doing with your time in terms of sort of how much are you driven by kind of getting more clients, making more money type thing versus the more like personal surfing, hanging out with the kids, hanging out with the family sort of vibe?
Well, it's a lot more surfing, hanging out with the kids, hanging out with the family. Like it's driven by factors like debt or not debt. It's driven by, you know, again, a lot of these entrepreneurs, like every time someone says they to me they want to make $10 million a year, I'm
Mm.
thinking, well, what are you, like a school kid in a pissing contest? Like, what is it about that $10 million milestone that people feel they have to achieve, or they're some kind of failure?
Mm.
So for me, I'm not driven $1 million per year mark. I'd be happy with half that if I could work 9 hours a week and surf every day, or even a third of that. If I can collaborate with people who I just, have it's joy to be talking with, and I don't have to do stuff. I don't want to do douchey sales pitches, and I don't want to do, with respect, I don't want to do social media lives like every day of the week or
Yeah.
whatever. Like some people do that as a business model. I don't want to do launches. They're exhausting and frustrating and risky. So there's a lot of things I don't want to do. And I'm okay with that. But it's about finding things you do want to do, and just, find your path. And so, yeah, I think it it's I used to be really competitive. I was a top performing salesperson. I was a top manager. I was a general manager. I basically reached the pinnacle of where you can be as an employee. And when I became an entrepreneur, I pedaled like crazy and I worked extra hard and I hustled and all of that in the beginning. And then I realized found myself at a point in life, probably about 8 years ago, where I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't connecting with my true happiness. So I had everything you could have, from the fast car to the 5 acre property, but I didn't really connect. And I definitely don't want to sound like some cliche backstory, once I was lost, now I'm found thing. But I think you have to get it all to then say, well, that's not actually get it all in the first place. So they'll never know. They won't have the Rolex and the big house and the great car and everything. So they'll never know, and they'll still be pursuing that. But I would say it's kind of it's not, that's not the end goal for me anymore. And whether it's little things that I picked up, like when I was in Thailand and I was looking at the reclining golden Buddha, and the guys explaining about their philosophy and how basically nirvana is like nothingness and detachment, and I'm like, well, that's a really weird concept. So now I've let go of the competitive stuff. I'm not trying to compete with anyone. I'm not trying, because if there's anything we've learnt this year, especially from social media, whether these documentaries and the news and the election and all of this, the main thing we've learned is that no two people are experiencing the exact same life. Everyone's got their own version of their Facebook or their own perception of pandemics and elections and everything. But so just we're running our own race, but most people don't realize that. So my race is just with me. It's about, today when I'm surfing, how can I get barreled? That's what I want to do. I want the wave to be over me. I want to get shacked. And that for me would be a perfect day. Not if I bank an extra 10 grand, but I have to do something shitty to get it. I don't want to do that. So it's about finding that line of what is enough, that you're not in poverty or struggling. Like, I don't believe I want to martyr myself and just give everything to, like, I'm not a Mother Teresa. I believe you can actually help people by taking a strain off the social system, by not draining that. Like, food is your medicine. I want to stay away from hospitals. I want to keep fit. I want to stay happy, healthy, young. I want to spend time with family. But an extra, I bumped into a friend of mine the other day. He's making about $10 million a year. And I said, how's things? And he goes, yeah, good. I said, what are your plans? He goes, oh, it'd be good to make an extra $5 million a year. And I said, so, and what actual difference would that make in your life, an extra 5 million? And he goes, 5 million? I said, like, but is there even a chance it would create problems for you or dramas that you don't have now that might make your life, less good than it is today? And he goes, yeah, probably. And I think he went away thinking about that. But let's stop this automatic programming that more is better, because I've found that's actually not the case.
So, yeah, so this is something I think a lot about. It's like, where is that point of enough? But the thing that...
Well, apparently it's like $24 million or something. Someone worked it out once. That's like, you can't really there's nothing you can't have if you have $24 million. You can have everything. You can have a nice car, nice house, a butler, if those things are important. Like traveling around the world and seeing how people live and having experiences. And honestly, I'd say, like, it's not a stretch to say that surfing changed my life. It really is. Like, I could be surfing next to someone who's a dirt poor bus driver, and he's got the biggest smile on his face. And it's just like, it's very interesting. And you don't have a laptop, you don't have a screen out there, you're not being distracted. So you spend a lot of time with yourself thinking about these things.
Yeah, yeah. So this is something that I've been thinking a lot about, because, like, I'm fairly open on YouTube with, like, how much money stuff is making on YouTube, just because that gets views and things. And I am sort of way beyond this point of having enough. But then there's another big part of me that's thinking, well, I feel like I've sort of built up this house of cards that could come tumbling down at any moment, and surely I should be trying to make $10 million just in case, everything completely goes to shit, and then I lose my YouTube channel for some reason, and everything gets demonetized, and Skillshare goes out of business, and all my courses suck, and people think I'm a snake oil salesman. At least I'll still have, that safety net to kind of prop
Yeah.
myself up on. But I imagine people have that feeling at every level of income. So how do you think about this idea of enough versus safety buffer?
Well, it's worth thinking it through. Like, I think it's great to have a contingency plan. I talk about that a lot. I don't like single source dependency. Obviously, in the book, I talk about my parents having a bit of a rough time financially, and then I'd started to find myself in a similar situation, or the possibility. Like, the most dangerous thing for me was having one big income from an employer that could turn it off, which is what's happened to a lot of people right now,
Yeah.
as it turns out. And a lot of people will blame someone else, but ultimately it's a choice. And if they've never realized it was a choice, now they do. You could have your own business. For me, it's essential to get paid by lots of people. That's one layer of protection. It's also essential for me to actually own over my head, because I want to be kicked. I reckon I want to reduce the anxiety. You definitely sound like you have a healthy, mild paranoia about things that could go wrong, which is great. Because if you think it through, just work out, what would you do if the platform your courses are on are gone? Do you have a backup of your courses? Like, I've even worked it out to the point of what happens if the internet fails, because that's really my worst case scenario. Is if there's no more internet, then I have to figure something else out. So I work it down to that level, but I've certainly been able to deal with pr- protecting myself in as many other possible ways. Even having, as a partner of 11 other people's businesses, I'm not even the face of it. I'm not. I don't have any liability for it. So I've got so much layer of protection that I feel like only in the last 3 years have I stopped having nightmares from the car industry, which was a bastard of an industry, a
Right.
really tough industry. So I get it. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of stress. And this year I've been called upon by my students because they need me more. Like, they've all been paying for years, but now they really need me. And this is where I come to the party for them. I'm giving them ways that they can actually navigate through this, because a lot of people haven't given it a first thought what happened this year. But I've been planning for this for 10 years. I've literally been planning for this since 2008. I've been planning for this year.
Yeah. So straight after I read your book, the next one on my the next one that I read was The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, where he talks about a lot about kind of these black swan events, like things like, the pandemic that like no one could have predicted, but still the point, like he says that, good investing and good like business and stuff is in a way being prepared for the unexpected, and having like this buffer of safety, this mild paranoia is really useful because you actually don't know what could be around the corner. And yeah, for me, worst case scenario, internet dies, then, I have to think about maybe I should keep my medical license up just in case.
Well, then you think about what would the world look like in that scenario. There'll be a lot of other things that would happen too. But it it is, I was very lucky around about 2000, 2001. I got trained by Mercedes-Benz on change management. And the real point that hit home for me is that if I can master change, if I can accept it, embrace it, thrive in change, that is my secret special weapon. Then I'll never have to worry. And I remember when I quit my job in 2008, I made a commitment to myself. I didn't ask anyone else to be responsible for me, or to outsource someone to hold my feet to the fire. It's like, it's up to me. I will promise to innovate and adapt and thrive in the constant change that will happen as I go online. And sure enough, Since then, I've seen a lot of people rise and fall over because they're just maxing out this one-way ticket, and then they find themselves somewhere they don't want to be.
Do you think that so a lot of people who are already successful say that you should kind of take it a bit more easy, figure out the things you don't want, figure out the things you do want, all that kind of stuff. Do you think it's in general necessary to have that phase of really sprinting and potentially doing it in a potentially unhealthy way before you get to a point where, okay, I've sorted the money situation out and now I can kind of take my foot off the gas and now I can start relaxing? Or do you think there's a sort of a healthier, more mindful way of doing it from day one?
I can't think of many of my students who have escaped that hard phase. And my mentors taught me this too. It's like there's a phase where you have to eat beans. He was referring to just like all he ate for a year was beans out of a tin. This guy owns most of the residential buildings in a suburb of Sydney, and he started with nothing. So he's worth hundreds of millions. Another one described as crawling over broken glass. Now, I've done it. Most of my students have done it. I can't really think of an exception. I think there will be a struggle. So, part of Gary Vee's positive messaging is, don't be lazy and stop making excuses. I agree with that 100%. You will have to roll up the sleeves and put in the work. I think books like mine and other ones, and there's plenty of other great books out there, will give you tools to avoid some of the common mistakes, because I think a lot of people actually never get there. You'd have to say on the stats, most people never make it. The majority of businesses fail, go broke, like more than half. Even more, half of marriages fail. Like the failure rate is high. So the few who do make it, the celebrated gurus and experts, they're actually significant. They're just a minority. So I think the books and tools would help people have better odds in that battle, but they're still going to have to go to battle.
Yeah, it's reassuring to hear say that. So on this kind of YouTubing course that I'm doing, like I make it very clear to people that look, this is a long slog. Like this is not a get rich quick
Look,
overnight
it's not
scheme.
pina coladas and hammocks straight out of the gate. So if these people who buy push button riches courses, that get suckered in by greed marketing, it is just very unrealistic.
How do you do marketing in a nice way? Because like
Help people.
I used to be allergic to the word marketing and sales and stuff, and I'm trying to get over that, and I'm just trying to find
marketing. I think of marketing as simply letting people know that you're there.
Okay.
That's the old-fashioned version of marketing is to go. There used to be a marketplace where you sell your fruit or whatever. Like that's going to the place where the buyers are. So I think of marketing as me going to the place where the buyer is. So that's probably what we're doing right now, right? Someone's going to find out about me who never knew I existed. That's marketing. Then selling is just a process. It's that process of change from the current situation to a better alternative situation. Like when you pull up to a gas station and you put gas in the car, that gas station has made a sale because you feel you'll be better off with gas than without gas. You don't even have to know the person. You don't have to like the attendant. You may not even see one. You might swipe the card, but a sale was made. So it's just a transaction. I think ethical selling is only helping people be better off. Like don't make sales if someone will spend money and be worse off. And there's plenty of people who fall foul of that one in every industry. And so the better the marketing, the easier the selling. And if you sell ethically, then it's really about creating an environment that helps that prospect see that they would be better off. And you can do that with videos on YouTube. You can do it with podcasts. You can do it with helpful articles. You can do it with challenges. You can do it with low ticket, high ticket. Every product could still contain the pathway to the next product if the person has the ability to continue to be helped. And that's why I love the recurring subscription programs, because most of the things I do, people won't be finished. Ali, won't ever be finished with discovering Ali's mind and how it works and how he can improve. There'll be layers and layers and layers of improvement. And also you might, reach a financial place of happiness, but then maybe spiritually or personally, you just feel like you've got a message that wants to come out, an urge, so to speak, or you just feel like you just want to expand and share, and that's totally cool as well. And there are people out there who do that, and money will probably be the byproduct of that anyway.
Yeah. Interesting. A few questions on this. So when you are selling, to what extent do you promise a result? Because often the results vary depending on like what, 100 different factors other than just the fact that they've followed your system. This is something that I've always been a bit uncomfortable with the sort of, traditional marketing advice is promise the result that the student is going to get. But, yeah.
I didn't catch the first part of that question.
I
If you could
was,
just repeat
yeah,
that.
sure. I was asking about to what extent you promise a result versus. So it's a difference between saying, I will help your YouTube channel will get from 0 to 100,000 subscribers versus this is the process that I kind of used for my YouTube channel to get from 0 to 100,000, and maybe it'll work for you, but your mileage may vary, and all these other hedges against the fact that you really can't promise that result because it's so dependent on other factors.
Well, I think so. Copywriters sometimes call them weasel words.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
in the copywriting world, the more bold the claim,
Yeah.
if you let a copywriter loose, they'll want you to promise the world. Like they'll focus heavily on the result and guarantee this and
Yeah.
that. And then the conservative business owner who doesn't want to get sued or lose their business will say, "Well, hang on a second. I'm pretty conservative, actually. Like I'd rather just talk about what who's a good fit, how I can help them, and then I am pretty strong in terms of who this is not for, and it's not for people who think that it's going to happen easily or that they're not going to have to do any work or whatever. So I'll actually step someone through that and only let them buy after that because I don't want to do refunds. So we don't have a big 4 times money back guarantee and all that. That's not the way we sell. I don't offer refunds. I don't offer guarantees. I also have less than 1% refund rate, over the last 10 years, which is usually just like admin errors, like someone,
Yeah.
forgot to tell us they wanted to cancel, or the credit card billed twice or whatever, or they purchased the same thing twice. Happens. So I don't use hype in my marketing, and one of my domains is actually called SuperFast Results. So I'm aware the results is really important to help people, but in my world, that's me creating an environment that helps them see they'll be better off. So relating this to you, if you're helping people improve their YouTube channel, then the improvement is the result. Now, how you define that, whether you're saying, you'll get 100,000 subscribers, or whether you're saying no matter what your YouTube channel looks like now, I am absolutely certain if you fit this criteria and you're not this type of person, then my course will show the exact steps that I've used, and hopefully it will work for you. And then of course you put your disclaimer. I think that is important, that there is an element of chance, or that you don't know how good they are or not, or if they're going to edit or not, or maybe they're just not going to get the results. So I play the conservative angle, and again, I'd rather not make as many sales, but I'd rather have really happy customers who are blown away because the results. And yes, we get people posting in our success thread without prompting, and then those, sometimes I ask them if they'd want to come on, share their story, and we use case study podcasts. But I think they're really authentic because they're organically sourced, they're real, they are instructive to someone who's in a similar position, and it helps people see if they might also be better off, and it reduces the risk for them to purchase. So, where copywriters talk about risk reduction, it doesn't have to be through a, golden guarantee. It could also be through, hey, here's 1,000 people who have already got an amazing result, the same as you're trying to get. So the chances are pretty good this course is actually legit. And I even put a button next to my order page, and it says, got a question, ask James. And they click on it, it sends me an email. And it's very easy to be transparent and communicate with a prospect if you want to, instead of sending out broadcasts with no reply at.
Hmm. Do you get on sort of these quote sales calls with people, or I guess someone in your team does? Like, how does that work
No,
with your business?
well, we don't have sales calls.
Oh, so when someone asks you a question, it's just an email that goes to you. It's not like a Calendly booking link where you're going to take them through the slide deck and then pitch them at the end and tell them the price and all that crap.
No,
Yeah. Okay.
we don't. We're not on LinkedIn spamming people to
Yeah.
have a little catch up or whatever. Like, we don't do any cold outreach. We don't have any affiliates.
Hmm.
We don't do launches.
Yeah.
We don't have sales phone calls. There's no script. There's no sub coaches. They buy from the website, from the marketing and the sales process. And yes, occasionally I'll back and forth someone on an email. And if they ask and they want to chat to me for whatever reason, then I just say yes. I give them my phone number.
Hmm.
My team gives them my phone number. They call me. I find out about their situation and let them know if I think that I can help them or not. And I'd say about probably 20% of the time, I would send them to someone who I think is going to help them better. And I've got a little Rolodex of trusted suppliers.
Hmm.
Some of them are my students, some of them are my partners, some of them are just peers who I deeply respect, and I'll send them there, and they will get looked after. It's more important to me that they're better off through our interaction, regardless of whether that's via me or through someone else. Because if you keep that level of integrity, you'll be fine. You'll have a great reputation online. And I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, listen, I keep hearing your name or whatever. It's that referral thing is not to be underestimated.
Okay. Yeah, I really like this kind of vibe of selling because like a few months ago, I recognized that I was very scared of this idea of selling and like marketing, and the thing I wanted to do was really just put out useful content and have like a buy link somewhere on the page, being like, hey, if you want to see my whole 4-hour course about this, here you go. You can sign up for a free trial of Skillshare, and you can literally watch it for free if you really want. And I really kind of like that sort of very hands off. Do what you want. I don't care. I make enough money from my YouTube channel. I don't need you, Mr. Customer. And then I started speaking to a few marketing type people, and the analogies of like the customer is a cow, and you want to bring them into your mailing list, and then you want to milk the cow as much as you can. And I get that makes sense, and I get that it's all just a metaphor, and it's not. But yeah, I really like your approach to this, which is it seems to be fairly like hands off. That here's what we offer. Is it for you? Is it not for you? That's fine, as long as you're better off as a result of this interaction.
That's the only filter. The same as my rule for sending emails. If I send an email, I want the reader to be better off for receiving it. That's how you get good open rates. From the whole time I was online, I used to find it just so offensive the way people market. There's this push marketing, these screaming red sales lines, these
Yeah.
countdown timers, and all of that stuff. It's never sat well with me, and I've wanted to remove all of those things from our repertoire. And like 17 crazy pop-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
I'd rather a low pressure system that
Yeah.
lasts the next 10 years without a hassle.
Okay, that's a really good phrase. I'm gonna write that down. Low pressure system, 10 years, no hassle. Solid. um, yeah. So this course I've just launched. We're doing a live cohort for the first time, and sort of initially I was very resistant to the idea because I was like, I don't want to do launches. But then, some people I spoke to who do launches and live courses said that, well, if you have a live cohort, you actually the students will probably get better results, and so you can do that for the first few times, and then you can switch to evergreen once you've got a system that works, once you've got an offer that converts. So kind of we're going live on the 15th of November. That's when the cohort launches, and so I've been just like working my ass off to try and make sure this is like as good an experience for these students as it can possibly be. And
Oh,
then
it sounds like
switch to,
fun.
yeah.
It's a very valid model because you sell it before you deliver it,
Mm.
and you will perform, and you've got a deadline. And for me, it's important to create deadlines. That's how I create. Most of my courses are from our monthly training, which are live, and I prepare a slide deck and I deliver it live. I get to field the FAQs, and then later we can chop it up into a course, and that's how I create courses. If I'm just going to create a course in my own time, it's just not going to get done.
Yeah.
This is the uphill versus downhill
Yeah.
bowling ball. that looming deadline of having to deliver a live training the following week, I'll start compiling a
Yeah.
keynote and I'll deliver it.
Yeah, I think that's very much the position that me and my team are in now. We're like, damn, we've got a lot of people in this course. Let's make it like an
Perfect.
absolutely awesome experience, and then we'll
I think
learn so
it
much in the
sounds like it's
process.
going to be great.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Anyway, James, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I will definitely hit you up via your website for a coaching call at some point because I think there's a lot we can talk about. Anything you would like to sort of advise slash plug to the audience who are listening in right now?
Oh no, I'm sure we've done enough plugging. I just want to say thanks for having the chat. It's refreshing to do it. That's my main message. Like my mentor taught me, question everything, cut your own path. Don't feel like you have to have certain, like, question your goals. Why is that goal even there? Like, is it really a goal, or was that just placed there by someone else? And if there's anything we've talked about on this call that resonated with you, then I'd say use your intuition and zoom in on that, contemplate it on your next surf or bike ride or
Yeah.
activity you do or allowed to do these days, away from the computer.
Amazing. We'll do. Yeah. Low pressure system, not being too concerned about sort of marketing with big red buttons and yeah, questioning goals
Yeah.
and practices. I think that's a good place to end this. Thank you so much for taking the time and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Ali.